Hazard pay is back on, baby. And on Tuesday, Joe Biden met in the White House with corporate America's elite CEOs. The reason? Hazard pay. In the third stimulus package, you'll see public sector hazard pay and private sector hazard pay. But how will it work? Enjoy this overnight LA video that explains hazard pay under the 2020 HEROES Act, the calculation, the applicability, how you apply, and who's eligible, and who's an essential worker, and how do you get that $10,000? Enjoy this overnight LA video explaining hazard pay. The Republicans' second stimulus package debuts. It does not have hazard pay in it, but is there still potential for hazard pay to get approved? Hey everybody, this is LA Lake with a second stimulus check and stimulus package update today. This one about hazard pay, as a helicopter is about to interrupt this recording as well. Thank you for tuning in. Yesterday you saw the piano crash to the floor as the Republicans debuted the second stimulus package that they call the HEALS Act. And the HEALS don't want to give you hazard pay. In fact, they don't even mention hazard pay. But what they do mention is protection for the employer who employs you as an essential worker. Really very, very disgusting. It's a crappy bill, and I will tell you that it's a crappy bill. So is hazard pay really dead? And where were we going from here forward? Let me go over the details for you and tell you what the twists and turns are as of Tuesday. The Democrats have a HEROES Act and the Republicans have a HEALS Act. And one has hazard pay in it and the other one doesn't. It doesn't mean that one is approved or that one is not approved. The way it works is that the two bills will be merged together, negotiated over the next 10 days. We have a very finite number of days. More about that in a second. But the two bills, when combined as one, has to pass both houses. If they're not combined as one, then what you have is the following. The Democrats have passed one house. They're in the Senate and they're not passing the Senate yet. The Republicans haven't passed even a single house. So even if the Republicans pass the Senate with the HEALS Act, then they land in the House of Representatives. And I don't think under any universe is this House of Representatives, which is a Democratic-run House, going to approve the HEALS Act as written. It's a crappy bill. Ultimately, this channel is not partisan, and I'm not partisan on this channel, but I will tell you when a bill is bad, and this is a hogwash bill. It is so hogwash to omit two critical things: hazard pay and eviction moratoriums. Hazard pay is not only not included, but the reverse of it is included. They're not going to pay employees, the Republicans, not going to pay employees for working as an essential worker. But on the other hand, they're going to protect the employers going forward so that the employees cannot sue the employer if they get injured in a hazardous environment. Boy, I don't know who thinks they can win the office of the presidency with that type of position, but it really does not put American workers first. It is absolutely one of the most morally corrupt concepts of how to write a bill that I have seen in a very long time. So let me get to where we are. Hazard pay under the Democrat bill is proposed under the HEROES Act and the HEROES Fund. $10,000. It would land in your bank account as a lump sum if you made the number of hours. Let me go over how it's calculated. It's calculated based upon the number of hours you worked during the pandemic. It starts at January, it goes up to the present. You take the number of hours, includes overtime, part-time, temporary, furloughed, any type of hours you worked as an essential worker, times it by $13 an hour, and then you get a number. If that number's over $10,000 and you made less than $100,000 last year, bam, you would get $10,000 right in your account. Great, great, great news. If you made over $100,000 last year, you get $5,000 in your account. If the number of hours is simply less, no problem, you would receive that amount in your account, and then going forward, you would still receive payments at $13 an hour until you reach your threshold. That's the Democratic proposal. Before yesterday, Mitt Romney, who of course is a Republican, introduced his hazard pay bill. It's called hazard pay, and it's great, and it's actually quite better than the Democrats in almost every regard. First, it requires the employer to apply for hazard pay. The Democrat bill does not require it. It says it's voluntary. Two, it pays the employer to apply for hazard pay and actually compensates the employer, because ultimately this is a lot of paperwork and a lot of bookkeeping. Under both proposals, the employer has to apply to the federal government to get the hazard pay, using your number of hours in your worksheets, get that money, and then send it to you. The Democrats make it voluntary. Mitt Romney makes it mandatory but compensates the employer to do it. That was up to yesterday. Then came those heels. Those heels don't like the heroes and apparently don't think that essential workers are essential. So they do not even mention hazard pay. I was really, really shocked. But what made it more shocking is what Mitch McConnell, the Senate head Republican, said about essential workers. He said he is not going to allow you to sue your employer because he wants liability insurance for employers. Under his liability insurance provision, you could not sue an employer if you contract COVID-19 in a hazardous work environment as an essential worker unless the employer's actions are intentional, which you know is absolutely the most ridiculous legal standard ever. Basically, the employer has to cough in your face and say, "Ha, I coughed on your face on purpose. Here's COVID-19, enjoy." Of course, if the employer walks by you and coughs by accident right in your face and you get COVID-19, you can't sue the employer. Or if the employer leaves surfaces completely unclean because they forgot to clean the surfaces by mistake or by accident today, and you get COVID-19 and die and infect your entire family, Mitch McConnell says, sorry, you can't sue anyone. And he's also not going to give you hazard pay. Boy, now, ultimately, my job over the next 10 days is to tell you where the parties are talking about these bills, how they're negotiating. They're saying, I'll agree to this, I won't agree to that. But we're not less than 8 hours into this Republican bill, and Mitch is already talking about one subject. Guess which one? Liability. He is saying it is absolutely non-negotiable. He will not sign or have his party sign anything that does not include liability coverage for the employer. Interesting. What's interesting about that is he also doesn't talk about hazard pay. So with that moral compass pointing the wrong direction, what's going to happen here? Here is the issues that you need to be informed about going forward. Ultimately, both bills have to pass both houses. If you were to just deal with the HEROES Act, it actually has passed one house. It's passed the House of Representatives. It's now in the Senate. It hasn't passed the Senate yet. The HEROES Act hasn't passed anything. It's currently in the Senate just sitting there. So it's literally like nothing at the moment. If the two bills are combined, then they have to go back and forth to both houses, get approved by both houses. Ultimately, any bill has to get approved by two houses. It doesn't get approved by one house. Someone in the comments yesterday said, I heard on Fox News that they passed a new law about... No, maybe Fox News said that, but no. Nothing has become law. It hasn't even come to a vote. It hasn't even passed one house yet for purposes of the Republicans. But is hazard pay really dead or alive? This is the good and this is the bad. First, the bad. I have literally not heard the word hazard pay come out of a congressman's mouth for weeks. And you know, and I know that I've been talking about hazard pay every single day since this channel launched, 3 months ago. We're at 112,000 subscribers. Wow. 1 million views in less than 48 hours yesterday and the day before. Just incredible. I mean, I've never seen numbers. No one has ever seen numbers like this. But we keep on talking about hazard pay. No one's talking about hazard pay. It's like a secret. It's like they don't want to talk about it. So what I'm worried about is, are Democrats really behind hazard pay? Or is this sort of a throw out and they're gonna buckle down, they're gonna roll over and not support it when negotiations start? Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer admitted today that they're starting negotiations today, but they didn't mention hazard pay. So Where is hazard pay? Also very troubling is a lot of employers are not paying hazard pay on an employer situation. I've been detailing that every single day. Unions are stepping up saying, Kroger, Albertsons, you need to pay hazard pay. Employers don't want to pay it. They're saying, hey, it's not even a hazardous environment. We're only paying you a bonus and calling it a bonus. The other thing that may work in your favor, though, but not if you're looking for a stimulus check, is the following. Today is Tuesday. We have not to this Friday, but the next Friday to get a second stimulus package approved. Because guess what happens? It's a big event that the Friday after that. Guess what big event is that day after that Friday? A vacation for everyone except you and me and the American citizens. It's a vacation for Congress. Yeah, they're going back on vacation. So they literally have like 9 days to get this done approximately. And if they don't, then what happens? Well, Nancy Pelosi said she's going to keep her House in session. She hasn't gotten approval from the Democrats about that. That's just her saying that. Mitch McConnell, he just takes a vacation every 10 seconds. He's not keeping people in the Senate to pass anything. So come next, not this Friday, but the Friday after, if you don't see these two very, very different bills even close, then a second stimulus package is not going to get approved. That won't be good news for viewers of this channel who want that check, that stimulus check, but it might be good news for people who are holding out for hazard pay, because hazard pay is still in the negotiations. Where do we sit today? I want you to keep faith. I want you to stay motivated. I want you to stay positive. I want you to stay focused. If you are concerned about the potential for hazard pay falling by the wayside, contact your congressman, contact your senator to say, I support hazard pay. You need to have hazard pay in the second stimulus package. They respond and they are attentive to your needs. And also, if you know local news reporters, if you know local press, contact them about hazard pay. We did this with EIDL. We reached out to congressmen and senators about EIDL. It worked. It literally worked. People got on the ball and got their stuff moving. Here's even easier. We actually have a bill that's been approved by half of the Capitol Hill for hazard pay. So get on the phone and start calling people and say, pass the darn hazard pay. Because if we don't see a movement in support of hazard pay, who knows what's going to happen? Ultimately, I'm very, very concerned. I'm very worried because if the pandemic increases, which it apparently is, and essential workers do not show up to work, which they're now vowing not to show up to work because the situations are more hazardous, will these businesses even exist? Employers think that everyone can be replaced, that they can protect themselves from liability. But economists say otherwise. Economists say essential workers are not going to go back to hazardous work environments if they're not compensated additional sums of money. So with that, stay focused, stay motivated, stay positive, stay informed. Thanks for tuning in to Mornings LALate this morning, another blockbuster, great viewership video. We do that every morning now, and stay with LA for more.